Hello and welcome to the Miss Rolling In podcast. As usual, my name is Jacob, and as usual, I'm joined by JJ Armstrong. JJ, how are you?
I went to bed gutted. I woke up gutted. I am gutted, and I want to start off by apologising for my voice. Quite unwell at the minute, so I might sound a bit nasally and hard to listen to, and I also look like shit. But I'm sure you'll say, "What's new?" What about you, Jacob? How are you?
I'm a smidgen under the weather. I'm not. It's almost like we spent all weekend poisoning ourselves with Guinness, isn't it?
In the freezing cold, yes, you're right.
Freezing cold, yeah. No, but I am okay.
Okay,
I suppose. Yeah. So let's. I just want to say as well, we had some great engagement on our last podcast, particularly as well from Everton fans as well. So thank you for watching. Not sure why you'd be watching this one. But yeah, thank you very much for watching and taking the time to make a comment. We always appreciate it, good or bad, don't we, Joshua?
we do, and plenty bad today, I'm afraid.
There is plenty bad today. So we start the Fulham game. There's a few changes to the team. I'm looking now to see if JJ's told me how many there were, but well, no, there isn't. So I think the key points were that Gibbs White had been dropped. And who was the other one who'd been dropped, JJ?
Aurier was dropped. Yates was dropped. Wood was dropped.
Wood was dropped. No, but overall, I was pretty comfortable with that starting 11. I'm a huge Dominguez fan. I'm happy to see Hudson-Odoi and ELANGA playing, or I was anyway. I think Origi deserves a chance. And there's a lot of people saying that he's not good enough, but this is his first start for us. And on the 7th of December, which is wild. Anyone who's listened to this podcast before knows my love of Felipe. So to see him next to my new love, Murillo, was excellent. Toffolo's been pretty decent recently. And Olaina, I'm comfortable with him at right back. So I overall, I wasn't displeased with the starting 11. But yeah, it. Well, let's hear what you thought, JJ.
It's going to be very difficult for me to put aside how I feel about these players currently. But what I'll do is I'll transport myself back in time and give you what I felt at the time. At the time, I liked it. I saw what he was trying to do. I thought it was a very brave decision to drop Gibbs White, and I thought that I think Gibbs White is largely ineffective on the right. So I thought what that did is allowed us to have a bit more balance to the game with Hudson-Odoi and ELANGA operating both flanks. I was enjoying seeing the midfield three together, and that's very difficult for me to say this morning, but I thought SANGARE, MANGALA and Dominguez as a three has largely been quite good, so I was looking forward to seeing that back together. Like you've mentioned, Murillo and Felipe has on paper all the ticks all the right boxes. I'm happy to see that. And I was pleased Aina was back, so I think, again, hard to say this morning, but I think he's largely been good. So I didn't hate it. As a fan of the lineup, I thought it was interesting, and I thought, on paper, there's enough there to give them a pretty good game.
Absolutely. Completely, utterly agree. And I think, realistically, first 20, 25 minutes, we did give them a pretty good game. I thought it was very even. They probably stole the possession stat, which is it's not 9 attempts to the law. We're not in court, are we? So that's fine. But I think chances wise, I mentioned it to you just a moment ago. I think Murillo was sliding that ball through the kind of channels of midfield and defence. Midfield and attack of their midfield and attack into Dominguez and SANGARE and MANGALA very, very well. It's well documented how good Murillo's passing is. I think maybe that kind of playmaker on the ball wasn't really there. It would have been a good game for Gibbs White, seeing that ball go through. And then obviously Origi's no way, shape or form match fit. But yeah, so there was a couple. He had an early shot, didn't he? Just wide of the post. But I think overall, the first, like I say, the first 20, 25 minutes, I was pretty satisfied with. I had no real grumbles. JJ, how about you?
It was okay. It simply was okay, and at that time, that was fine. I think I messaged you saying during that opening spell that it's quite interesting, and apologies. I feel like they're there to be gotten at, and I think I said it the first goal is really influential here. If we score the first goal, I think we might pick our heads up a bit and ultimately put a few in. However, if we concede the first goal, then I think our heads will drop and we'll capitulate. And ultimately, sloppy, but they take the lead and they double the lead very swiftly. And it was a really, really low point, and you saw the heads drop and the capitulation and just head loss went.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first goal, there was there was an error by Sangare. I will defend him a little bit and say there wasn't actually anyone to pass to. And obviously, I don't know which Fulham player it was who tackled him and kind of tackled and passed it back to Calvin Bassey, who was much closer to his own penalty area than the halfway line. So, in fact, it then comes through our team, and I think there's probably 3 or 4 passes, and then it's in the back of the net. Is it Felipe who goes flying out of the defence and opens it right up as soon as they get into our half, and then Toffolo doesn't bother tracking Iwobi, does he, at the back post, and it's a really simple goal. So that was extremely disappointing, especially when you compare with the second goal, which I think was actually just a pretty good goal. It was a great finish as well from somebody who's not in a great vein of form. I did say before we started the podcast that I was looking at the Fulham team last night and highlighting Iwobi, Jimenez, and Kearney as probably the weak links in the team. That's the 3 players that scored. So shows how much I know. But yeah, the first goal was a mistake, probably from 4 or 5 players realistically, and the second goal I think was probably just a good goal, which I know we as football fans aren't want to admit to, are we? A lot of the time, but yeah, I'm willing to chalk that up as just a good goal.
And I'm not willing to discuss any of the goals because I just don't want to relive it. And I think each goal was littered with mistakes, and it was embarrassing and it was shameful.
Yes, well, I mean, I think the Jimenez second, what on earth is Olaraina doing? And that goal in itself is enough to get him dropped. Very smart finish from Jimenez after he goes around the keeper, because I think Vlac does well to push him really wide. He didn't get anything on him, but he closes him down quite quickly and forces him quite wide. It's just an extremely smart backheel finish that buries it. The Iwobi second, again, Olaraina, what is he doing? Just both fullbacks haven't showered themselves with glory. And the Tom Kearney goal, the icing on the cake, I said to you last night, the icing on the cake is the fact that a Forest fan from Arnold has scored the 5th goal.
He's no Forest fan. I'm sorry, but he's no Forest fan. No way do you celebrate like that.
He grew up a Forest fan, didn't he? There's probably, that's a whole different topic altogether that I find really interesting about footballers and the teams they support, and that fact that not a lot of them seem to actually follow football teams once they actually become professional footballers, which is crazy to me. But yeah, it was the icing on the cake for me that somebody from Arnold probably scored the goal that was going to get Steve Cooper sacked.
Yeah, I mean, I let's just reference the fact that it was shambolic, it was painful to watch, and the players have a lot to answer for and a lot to look in the mirror and sort of look at themselves for, because I just think it was completely shameful how much they looked like they down tools and couldn't give a single fuck. I want to say big credit to the away fans for what could possibly be Cooper's farewell. Obviously, we'll go and discuss this past the game. But if that was Cooper's farewell, singing his name and giving him a great send-off was very special, and we don't really get that too much in football. And I think, obviously, we had it last season where we were 4-0 down to Leicester. We sang his name, we kept him in a job, and I think it's extremely special. I'm sure Mr. Marinakis was absolutely fuming before he stormed off, looking at the away fans and showcasing what love they've got for the man that is Steve Cooper. So hats off to the away fans. I thought that was really special. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest with you, like last night, I was just devastated. I was absolutely gutted at the end of it, because it felt like the writing was on the wall and it felt like the end of an era. And I generally feel gutted about all that. And I think the players have not crowned themselves in glory whatsoever. And the fact that it's testament of the man that Steve Cooper is, that after the game he tried to usher the players to acknowledge their away fans when all it looked like they could be bothered to do was laugh and joke with the fucking Fulham players. So He held his hands up. He showed us the responsibility, and I think that's a credit to the man. But where at any point are the players going to hold their hands up and shoulder some responsibility for what was weak-willed, not given a fuck performance? And if they're not playing for Cooper, at least play for the fans that turn up to support you, is what I'll say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that the Cooper going home at the end, there's nothing surprising, is it? And the way he held his hand to apologise again is nothing surprising. I was reminded last night of the Leicester 4-0 loss, and West Ham was 4-0 as well, wasn't it? They seemed like turning points last season, two separate games either side of Christmas, weren't they? But yeah, it's, you know, him dragging the players over and apologising. It's what was needed at the time, you know. And I know he's in his post-match interview, he said that he didn't deserve what the fans gave him in that game, but you know, he absolutely does. He absolutely does. What he has done and continues to do for this club is nothing short of mesmerising. And you know, in my opinion, I think we're exactly where we should be.
Yes, I think he deserves everything, and I think it runs deeper than football. And I told you that I've been thinking about this whilst I was sort of wide awake this morning, shivering with the flu. Gross, but I've been thinking about it this morning, and I think it just extends deeper than football. And I think that's why Steve Cooper, as a man, does deserve the fan base's attention and, you know, the positive attitude they give him when they're singing the name, because Steve Cooper came in at a time where the pandemic had just happened. I personally just lost my father. It was a difficult time. And I felt disillusioned with reality. Mental health took a dive. And my escape from that, to escape from reality, was a little club called Nottingham Forest. That escape from reality dwindled. I was not enjoying it at all because we were heading in one direction, and that was down. Steve Cooper came in when the club was rock bottom of the Championship and injected and reinvigorated both the players, the club, the fan base, and the city and community of Nottingham almost instantly, and he got it straight away. And he gifted us some great moments in that first season. We've got Bristol City away, we've got Blackpool, we had the Arsenal and Leicester FA Cup run, we had the playoff semi-finals, we had the Swansea game. There were so many exciting moments that could gift us something to be proud of, and mean my escape from reality meant something for once, and I was excited for it. Wembley, he gifted us the greatest day of my life. I could share it with my mates and Jordan Kimberley. It's it was the best day of my life, which he's given me, and I was able to also share that with my family, my mother and my uncle, who I got box tickets from work, and what I did was I gifted it to my uncle and my mother. They had a great day, and I think that's a really special moment that he's given us, and I will never forget that day as long as I live. Following that, he got us up against the odds. Following that, he kept us up against the odds. I think there's not much. You look like you've got no head with the angle you're sitting at. It's a bit weird.
Sorry.
I don't think there's much harder tasks than knitting together 30 new players when you get promoted via the playoffs, and you somehow manage to create a sense of community still with a positive atmosphere in the stadium. Keep us up. Gifted us things like our first cup semi-final in however long. We had our first Premier League goal in however long. The exile had ended. It was something to be proud of still. Our club meant something. My escape from reality meant something. And the fact that it's now December 2023, I think it's just over 2 years since he came in and we were at the bottom of the Championship.
Yeah.
The fact that we are here in December, and yes, we've been on a bad run, but the fact that we're not in the bottom three, at this point last season we were, the fact that there's people calling for his heads and are basically reducing his entire tenor and positivity on both the city and me personally, thousands of people personally, to just a simple hashtag that says Cooper out, is mind-blowing to me. And it's generally gutting to listen to him say on radio and sound pretty broken that he didn't deserve the support of the fans. I think he deserves everything, and I think I am one of thousands that he has had a really positive impact mentally over the course of the last few years. I want him to succeed. That's all I really want him to do. And we'll go to discuss. Looks like he's got one more game to do that. But it's frustrating me that our fans that seem to want him out, I think they're mislabeling entitlement as ambition, as I keep saying, because yes, we've invested money, but that does not guarantee anything in football. especially when that investment has been invested in a lot of shit. Some of that money has gone on people like John Joe Shelvey and Chris Wood. You know, people like Lewis O'Brien, he was a bit of a stopgap to get us up. Loads of players that I don't think were fit for purpose. So does that equate to success in your second season? Should we be so entitled that in our second season we should be top 10? No. I think we are where we are. I think the squad has enough in them to probably do better. But at this moment, we're at a bit of a crossroads. But unfortunately, there's a few people out there that seem to think that we should be higher up. And maybe we should, but it's our second season. 17th is fine as far as I'm concerned. I'm happy. I'm proud of this club. We are in the Premier League. We've broken the exile after so many years. I'm going to stop waffling on now because I can tell Jacob's bored, but it's just generally like gutting for me that he doesn't feel like he deserves the support of the fans after that. And I think there's a very special reason why the fans were singing his name, because he's gifted thousands of people a really positive impact over the course of the last few years.
I think the sheer fact that he feels he didn't deserve that support is exactly why he deserves that support. He's an extremely humble man, isn't he? Sorry, I can't get my impression of AJ saying I'm humble. I'm humble out my head. He's an extremely humble man, and the work that he puts in all the time is phenomenal. I agree with every point you made. Personally, I'd rather finish 17th with Cooper than 13th with some 18-month mercenary, like a terrible Jose Mourinho type situation. This is the person I still see taking us forward. He is a long-term project man, and that's what we need. We've had short-term managers for 23 years, and none of them have done what Steve Cooper has done, and that includes some pretty good names who've done other things at other clubs. So this person's come in and understood the assignment, to quote everyone on TikTok, and I think that can't really be forgotten. Having said that, I do respect the people who are saying that they want to stop the rot and we don't want to free fall and that kind of thing. So I do respect people's opinion, but for me, it's Cooper all the way still.
Yeah, I respect people's opinion. I can certainly see why. The form that we're in obviously makes a case for itself, but I'm just speaking from personal experience. I'm not crying, by the way. I've got a bad throat. I speak from personal experience when I say there's no man I would rather have at the helm than Steve Cooper. And if he goes and we get someone in, they're still going to face the same problems. It's going to take a lot for me to forgive the players for the performance they put in last night. And if they show up with a new manager and show up and play, and I think that's even worse. I think that's disgusting behaviour. And, it shows the massive flux and change, because the only person that was involved in the playoff final that appeared last night was Ryan Yates, who came in as a sub. The amount of overhaul and change we've gone through is significant. And I think any manager is going to struggle with that. And any manager that comes in is going to come in off the back of one of the greatest managers we've had in a long time, who took us to the promised land, who the fan base are largely all behind. And what they're going to be faced with is a group of players who it seems like couldn't be bothered to turn up to back their manager when it counted. And also the same amount of injuries and the same amount of depth and the same players going to AFCON in January. It's a difficult position for anybody to be in. Lopetegui, or whatever the fuck he's called, Lopetegui, said no apparently due to squad depth. Same thing applies to Steve Cooper, because he's currently in that position dealing with that. So it's just what I'm concerned about here is this next step. If Cooper does go, destabilising us even further. It worries me. Who do we get in next that is better than him? I generally couldn't tell you one person.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the team from yesterday as well, and I go, Hyena isn't performing. Is he fit? Because he keeps coming in and dropping out. Same with Aurier. So have we just got a load of fullbacks that are injury prone and can't do a run of games? Because I think with a back four, you really need that settled, especially in the situation we're in. Felipe,
sorry, just to cut in, I gave Ola Aina my sign of the season mere weeks ago. We know he's got it in him. He's brilliant. Yeah, so what was last night?
Yeah. You look at Felipe, who's only just come back. He can't train. So he's not match fit in any capacity. But we know he's got it in him. Murillo has easily been the player of the season so far. Toffolo is third choice left back. He's doing all right, but I don't think he's ever going to be the man at left back, is he? Mangala's having a good season, I suppose. Sangare, we spent a lot of money on him, and I still maintain when I watched that PSV game, he looked great. He's still, he's adjusting to a new country and all. I'm being ultra defensive now, but like
he's had a stinker
again.
Sorry,
yeah. I'm not saying he's played well. I think he's not as bad as people are making out, but I'm not saying he's played well, if that makes sense.
I wish I could go back when I was excited about that bloke and just tell myself, don't bother. He's not it, pal.
Hudson-Odoi, he's a new signing. He's not played much. He's been injured. Dominguez, I think, has been great, but can't seem to finish a game, which is a worry. And his confidence rocked after that West Ham game. ELANGA, I said last night, he looks to me like a Theo Walcott 2.0, all the gear and no idea. Divock again hasn't played at all. That was his first start. I look at the bench. You've got Neco Williams has barely played this season. I don't think he's good enough. Chiku Kawate, I don't think he's good enough really anymore. Morgan Gibbs-White hasn't hit the heights of last season, but he's played a lot of football consecutively. Chris Wood scored some good goals for us this season, but he just doesn't fit the team. Moussa Niakate, injury prone, can't get fit, can't get a run of games. Ryan Yates again, absolute saving grace last season. Anybody who's a long-term listener to this podcast knows that the 180 we've done on Ryan Yates, but he can't get fit, he can't get a run of games. Same with Danilo, exactly the same. And Omar Deli on the bench, I think, for the first time. So it's, I'm not making excuses, but there's still a lot of work to do to gel that team, isn't there? And you look at the team that played against Aston Villa, who absolutely wiped the floor with Man City last night, by the way. And we wiped the floor with them. If we can play that 11 that played against Aston Villa, I think that's our, we wouldn't be in this situation. But unfortunately, just the cookie doesn't crumble like that. And as Lopetegui says, we don't have the depth, do we?
Anyone that comes in is going to be faced with the same problem. And like I say, if these players aren't playing for Steve Cooper, that in turn obviously frustrates me greatly, because I think that's a horrible trait to have. But play for the fans. They pay good money. That away following last night, singing Cooper's name, play for them.
Yeah.
It's gross. Mm-hmm. It's just grim. And like I say, seeing them laugh and joke at the end of full time, I get it. Like, just because they've lost a football game don't mean their world needs to end like ours does. It's obviously more important to us than them, but come on, time and place. Like, this just disappointed in them. And like I say, if these group of players have got Steve Cooper sacked, and he hasn't helped himself, granted, but these players have a lot of responsibility within that. With a performance like last night, it'll take me a lot of forgiving to sort of get there. But now it's apparently he's got one more game left, and now it's on them to show that they do care. Let's see.
Yeah.
And if they don't show up and don't play, they've got him sacked. Gross.
Yeah. I'd like to see a tighter defensive performance. And, I think anyone who's listened to the podcast long term knows that I'm a fan of trying to play football. But if we're not going to do that, and we aren't, then I have no issue with them coming out and going, right, well, we're not going to concede. We're going to snatch a 1-0. We're going to do this and do that. We need to stop the whole conceding goals, which I think is the big job. I think he's been let down in the recruitment of fullbacks. If you look at our promotion season, a key part of our team was Jed Spence and Max Lowe, and even then, an overperforming Jack Colback at left back. They were such a key part of our team, whether it was a back four or a back five, and we just haven't had that level of fullback. You look at when Aurier played, when Aurier played well, we played well.
Yeah, we had Lodi on the other side, so obviously he was great as well.
Yeah, so it's just there's lots of mitigating factors and things. But so Wolves on Saturday, JJ, 3:00 kickoff away at Molineux. Would you like to make a prediction, my mate?
No, I don't think. I honestly don't think I could. Wolves are going to be difficult to beat. I think Mr. O'Neill, is it Gary O'Neill?
Gary O'Neill, yeah,
has got them set up well. I think they're going to be difficult to beat. They are a good team. I think there's a few lesser games I'd want to do than go to Wolves away, as they currently are. I think it's going to be a very difficult game. And the reason I can't really give you a prediction is because it depends who bothers to show up on the day, if they do. Yeah. If they do what they did last night and they don't show up, then we'll get battered again. If there's a vast amount of individual mistakes and errors that cost us loads of goals, we'll get battered again. But if these players give a single fuck about this club and the fan base and actively try, on our day, we already know we're capable of beating anybody, I think, because I think that Villa team are very difficult to beat. As you said, they beat Man City last night. We are capable of beating teams if we show up. So it's hard. Yeah. It's impossible to predict. It all depends if they bother to show up or not.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick my neck on the block and say 2-1 Forest.
Well, it'd be a fantastic time.
I want to be singing his name a week on Friday, mate. I want to be singing his name at
so do I. Game. So do I. I don't even have any, like, obviously I support the club. I don't support Steve Cooper, I support the club as well. But the thought of going to that Spurs game the week later with a new manager in play, just, I just can't wrap my head around it, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you listen to this podcast and you have some Steve Cooper memories, please feel free to add them in the comments if you're on YouTube. We'd love to read them, won't we, JJ? Because please believe us, we do read every single comment. We have a chinwag about them in our own private chat as well. So if you have any lovely Steve Cooper memories, please put them on. Please make a comment. We really appreciate it. If you're listening
on
for
the subject of that, we've got some fan comments you need to read out, by the way. So you better not be wrapping it up. We've on the subject of that, I've seen some people be very happy, like polite about Cooper and sharing their experience of how great they are, and they're getting mocked online for it. And I just think that sucks. Like, grow up. People are allowed to have a positive reflection on what is a great human being, regardless of your Cooper in or out. He's done a lot for this city and this club. So, I think that fucking sucks.
Right, let me find them.
You sounded like you were about to wrap up the podcast, but we've got some comments that you need to read out so we can discuss.
Yep. So Tom Vavardel says, I have a question. How much blame do the ownership and transfer team deserve in this situation? No decent attacking options from the bench, and we are blunt without a Wunyi. Couldn't have said it better myself.
And this goes back to the point of, as a fan base, it feels like we're starting to get a bit entitled towards money spent equals instant success. And I think a lot of blame needs to be placed at the recruitment door, because I think Cooper's basically had an overhaul twice. Obviously, it was significant last season, but 13 players, whilst it was exciting on deadline day, and it got us all a bit excited, 13 new players to knit in, and that level of change, the team is unrecognisable from that playoff final. There's a lot to go for, and I think there's been a lot of misses within that squad and recruitment. So I think a lot of blame falls at their door, and blunt without a Wunyi, extremely. We're a different team without him.
Yeah. So long-time listener and fan David Jones has said, still unclear if he's got one game to save his job or not. Either way, these results are horrible, but as a fan, do you want success at any odds, even if it's sterile? Without personality and no connection between club and fans, Cooper has linked it all together for 2 years, made it fun, given us all a collective sense of purpose and success that we haven't seen for 3 decades. I just can't see how it gets better if he goes, and imagine watching him succeed at another club. That will be heartbreaking. Come on, you Reds.
Expertly said.
I think I said the same thing, a similar thing earlier around. I'd rather 17th with Cooper than 13th with a mercenary, didn't I? It's absolutely he's connected us, hasn't he?
It's a long-term project, and as I tried to say earlier and probably failed because I waffled, it meant my escape from reality finally meant something.
Yep.
And the thought of that being any different with anyone else at the helm is devastating. So I couldn't agree more. 17th is fine. I still think we'll improve on that given the time. If we just take a breather, I think the damage might already be done, but I don't like what counts as success if it's sterile. If it is a 13th place finish, is that good? Really?
Yeah.
At the cost of getting rid of the person that took us up and knitted together a community and city? I don't know. Yeah. I feel like losing our identity is more important. Sorry, keeping our identity is more important than losing it and finishing 14th, 13th. What's the point?
So the next one is from Rachel Wadzinska. Apologies if that's wrong. I've did the best I could there. The fans were incredible last night. I know what it's like to travel and get battered. Oldham 2007 at least. There weren't two reds or pissing it down. Players turned up in body and zero spirit. I fear if Cooper goes, we'll be back to the managerial rotating doors. I think we should stick and give him a chance to fix it. Started watching Forest early 80s and I can't name all the managers since Cloughy. Personally, I'm glad I took my ticket out of the basket and was going to go incognito to the Fulham in the Fulham end. Yes, I completely agree. I completely agree that it's, I think it's very easy to forget where you came from or where we've been, in very recent times. My first season ticket was the last season in League One. And, that was my 16th birthday was the Yeovil second leg. And that was horrific, as you can imagine, JJ. So it's that kind of thing I think we need to remember and check ourselves, don't you?
My first season ticket was in 99 or 2000, one of the two. And I've known nothing but disappointment ever since. So why throw that away and rip that up after the exile has ended? I know we're in a bad run, but like you said, let's just remember who we are and where we've come from. And we can't take that for granted. And that is why in our second season, I think you'll struggle to find too many teams in their second season that do anything like what we're aiming to do. It's a great ambition, but it is purely that ambition.
Yep.
We'll stay up, I think, giving Cooper the chance, and that is perfect. What more do you want?
Look at Villa. Great example. Their first couple seasons back was about survival.
Not the best example because Dean Smith finally took them back up and they got rid of him. Got Gerrard, got rid of him, and then now
all they did was sorry. I think yes, I agree with what you're saying. But I'm counting Dean Smith and Gerrard as one manager there because they both just did the exact same thing. They both just kept them up. Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So yeah. So the next one is from Marcus Kane. I was at the match last night, bar a couple of fights breaking out between Forest fans about the performance.
Ooh,
face. Everyone is clearly still united behind Cooper. I don't want to see him go. I think it would be very naive to think we could get someone better in at this point. No one is entitled to constant success. I hope the owner doesn't do anything stupid. Completely agree. That point about fans breaking out, about the fans fighting about the performance. Pay your money, you're allowed to boo, in my opinion. I know it's not a popular one, but yeah. But don't fight amongst yourselves. Don't. You all support the same club. It's ridiculous. And then the last one we've got is from Harrison Dolby. It says, if we sack Cooper, we need to sack him now and give the new manager a bit of time before January window opens. His options up. Oh, no good. No sacking. No good. Go sacking him and bring someone in middle of end of January. Absolutely agree. If you're gonna, if you're gonna pull the trigger, you might as well do it, haven't you? It feels. I can't remember who I was talking to last night and saying that basically it feels like Marinakis has had it in for Cooper for quite a while now, I suppose. Although he has backed him still, which is great to see. But you just feel that if you're going to pull the trigger, you might as well do it sooner rather than later, which is probably why he's. I'm surprised he gave him one more game after the fact it was 5-0. But he's
giving himself.
It's going to be an interesting week, isn't it?
He's buying himself time to get the replacement sorted because he's probably ringing a few people and they're all saying no. Because look at that squad and look at that performance from those players who couldn't give a single fuck playing for the manager. Why would I want to manage that? I think. Writers on the wall, it's inevitable. Cooper will go unless he wins quite a few in a row. A matter of time. I think Marinakis is probably fuming that the fans are in such support of Cooper. I think possibly their ego might think, well, we helped take you up as well, but everybody's pointing towards Steve Cooper. And I just feel like it's a matter of time regardless, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I think the Wolves game only buys them time to get a replacement. And who that will be, fucking hell, that concerns me because I've looked at the available managers. None of them fill me with any confidence. I can tell you that. I'm
going to put you on the spot right now, then, JJ, before we wrap it up, and say you don't get to say no one. You don't get to abstain your vote. Who do you? If Steve Cooper gets sacked on Saturday, who do you want?
I do get to say no one, and I do get to abstain my vote. There's no one.
No.
I couldn't give you one name that I'm excited about. I've looked at the people that are there. Couldn't give you one name. Not interested.
Okay. Well, that made that fun. Awesome. Okay.
Well, what about you? You can't say no, then. Tell me one person.
I wasn't going to say no. The only one I would get excited for, really, and I'm looking at kind of long-term managers rather. Mourinho, Lopetegui, short-term mercenaries, I'd probably go for Will Still at Rame. I think he's doing a fantastic job there. It helps that he's got a Football Manager addiction, or that's where he came from, which I also have. So that's the guy I'd go for, though. I'm hearing he's heavily linked with Sunderland, so it'd probably be a move quickly or don't move at all on that one.
If that's his level, then I think it's not worth ripping up what we've got and taking a chance on someone unproven.
Well, the same way we did with Cooper.
Yeah, but he's proven himself. He's kept us up last season. He's got it on a credit. He's got it on the CV.
Yeah, but you're saying we shouldn't go for someone because they're unproven?
Yeah, someone new that's linked with a Sunderland job.
Yeah, but the context isn't that the context is that Cooper's already gone. It's not. We're not looking to replace him. Does that make sense?
No.
Okay.
Cooper.
Okay. Well, if you're listening for the first time, thank you very much for finding us. We really appreciate it. And if you've come back again and again and again and again and again and again, God knows we love you. You Reds.